Hello, I am back out in the woods and I am going to introduce another Civil War era weapon that I have been lucky enough to acquire. The last time I was out here, I was showing you my 1857 Smith carbine and we fired it. And I've also made videos with my 1853 Enfield and my 1860 Colt. All of those weapons are reproductions. Now, when I made that video on the Smith carbine, I talked about how it was about the fourth most popular based on numbers produced with about 30,000. And the carbine that was the most produced during the Civil War was the Sharps carbine. And that's what I'm going to introduce today. I am going to introduce a Sharps carbine. Now, the main difference between this one and the other three that I have introduced is this one is not a reproduction. This is an original new model 1863 Sharps carbine that, based on its serial number, was produced either at the end of 1863 or early 1864. So this carbine right here is about 162 years old, but it is in excellent shape. I was lucky enough to find it and get it. And so today we're going to talk about the Sharps, and then we're going to shoot it for the first time. I haven't fired it. The only thing I've done is popped a couple of percussion caps on it to make sure that the fire channel is clear, which it is. Now, the Sharps carbine was invented by Christian Sharps, and he patented it in 1848. The first ones were produced around 1850 by a couple of smaller firms. In 1851, the Sharps Rifle Manufacturing Company was created and began producing these Sharps rifles. Now, the Sharps is a breech loader, but unlike the Smith, which was a breech brake, the Sharps is a falling block. And so we're going to bring the camera in and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by falling block. So right here is the block next to the hammer, and by activating the trigger guard, the breech just falls down and you can load the next round. And then when you pull the trigger guard up, it closes it and it's ready to fire. Now, the 1859 model Sharps was widely used early in the war. The 1863, which this one is, was simply a slightly improved version of the 1859 based on 2 years of use. It took out a patch box that was on the stock. It also added the ability to have a pellet primer system in which you could load a stack of pellets, and then as you fired it, it would throw a pellet out and the hammer would catch it and fire it, which eliminated the need for a percussion cap. But you could also use percussion caps. Now, those pellet primer systems, they're not in manufacture anymore, at least not that I can find. And so today we're going to be firing with musket caps, which, like I said, this was designed to handle also. Now, the bullet that this fires is a 54 caliber bullet, and what I'm going to be firing is called the new model Sharps, and we're zooming in right there, and it is about a 480 grain bullet, and this would have been the bullet that most Union cavalry soldiers would have carried. Now, the Confederacy developed its own bullet for the Sharps. It was called the Richmond Sharps bullet, and it was a little bit different based on their experimentation. Now, the Confederacy manufactured some of these. This was a very popular weapon. The Confederacy did take some and manufacture them. They also used captured Union ones, which is why they needed to have bullets for it as well. Now, the cartridge that it fires was two different types. Primarily, it would use a linen or a paper cartridge. And you can see here that I have a paper cartridge in my hand. Now, I've made this out of paper, believe it or not. This is made out of copy paper, which is very usable to make these Sharps cartridges. People make them out of a couple of other different things. During the Civil War, a lot of the bullets were made out of a linen. Unfortunately, that linen is no longer in production. So there are some alternatives you can get and do some work with it and make linen, but the paper cartridges work just as well. So I am going to fire about 5 of these. I have a target down here at 50 meters. Now, with this rifle, this carbine still having its original sights, I expect that my shots are going to go high because this thing is going to be battle sighted to 150, 200 yards. I'm shooting at 50. I am going to shoot center mass, but I expect the bullets to all hit high. They may even go over the top of the target down there. Don't know, we'll see in just a moment. But we're going to fire 5, then we're going to walk down there and see how I did. I will not be modifying this one at all, so even if they are high, I will not be changing the front sight, because as I said, this carbine is an original. So with that, we're going to step over here and we're going to fire and see how we do. Orange pole coming into view here. This is just my 50-yard mark. So you just push the bullet in. Bam, it's loaded. You can see why it was popular with the cavalry, because no breech brake like the Smith. You just drop it down and pull it back up. I dropped the cap, that's okay. So I have a cap on. We're going to see how it does here. I hope that it fires. It fires. I don't know how long it's been since this one fired, but the first time it fired would have been during the Civil War. And so now here we are in 2025 and it's firing again. Let's load another one. There is nothing left of that paper cartridge. It is gone. A soldier during the Civil War wouldn't have blown that out like that, but since I've never fired it before, I'm just wanting to make sure that all the paper's burning up before I go to stick another one in there. Uh-oh. Well, that bullet was a little long. Now, the first cartridges that were developed for this actually were folded tails like a musket. It was only a little bit later during the war that they developed the cartridges that have the end on them that doesn't have to be cut, because the original cartridges with the tail would be placed in, and then the falling block coming back up would simply slice off that tail to open up the powder. And you would lose a little powder. It could also help foul it into the breech, into that falling block area with extra powder. So these cartridges, like I'm shooting, actually have a very thin piece of paper. I told you the main cartridge body is cartridge paper. The end of these cartridges are actually hair curler paper, very thin. The spark from the percussion cap goes right through it. All right, we're going to shoot one more. I believe that was 4 downrange. We're going to put a 5th one downrange, and then we're going to go down here and take a look and see how I did today. Smoky. That's what black powder does. All right, with that, we're going to pause the video. We're going to take a look down here and see how I did on the target. I don't know, probably all high. I've never fired it. The old sight's a little hard to get used to. We'll see how I did. So we're going to pause the video and take a walk. All right, so we are down here at the target, and we'll take a look at the target over here. Exactly like I said, it was shooting high. I'm pretty happy with the center lineness. You can see right here, 2 shots right here, so that's just a little off center. And being about a foot high or more, that's what I expect. So I expect the other 3 shots probably went right over the top of the target. But with that, that is the new model 1863 Sharps carbine, and original, fired with original sights today, using the new model Sharps bullet, and I had 60 grains of double F powder pushing it. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, you can post a comment and I'll be happy to answer. I don't claim to be an expert, just a Civil War enthusiast that loves shooting these old weapons. Thank you. Boom.